Hey, all, welcome to Challenge Accepted. I am Frank, and I'm with Thomas.
What's going on, everybody? I keep saying I'm going to be out, but then I keep jumping back in.
You got to talk about Gen V. That's why we're talking about Gen V today. This is the spinoff to The Boys. Surprisingly good. What's your initial reaction to this?
Man, so surprised. It is awesome. I
Yeah.
really didn't know how this was going to work in the world of the boys where we're currently at following season 3, but it
hmm
works really well. Right? What about you?
Yeah, I didn't know how they were going to try to recapture the boys, because sometimes when you got a spinoff of something that's hot, you're like, oh, okay, they're just trying to use the name. This feels both familiar and completely unique in a really interesting way that I didn't expect at all. To where I'm like, oh yeah, I get my boys vibe, but also like, oh, what's going on with this college drama? So it does a good mix. It's been fun.
Absolutely well said, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So let's talk about what's the general premise. We're going to try to keep the beginning of this spoiler free. We'll get into heavy spoilers later on. But the idea is this is a university called Godolkin, which is the coolest name ever. Godolkin University, or God U. And it's, think of Sky High, but intense. It's all superheroes. And there's a ranking system at this school that I think is only the boys. Like, if you were to normally tell this story, you would not have the ranking system. But because Vought's in control, you gotta have a ranking system with a draft. What did you think about that part?
Yeah, I mean it's man, way to take something that we see in real life and like kind of spin it for the boys. Right?
Yeah,
Like we always see like college rankings. We
right.
see like, oh, who's the top school in the NCAA? What team is at the top? And then you extrapolate that, turn that into the boys, and it's like, who's the top hero? And
Right.
then knowing us and like knowing what we know about the boys, it's like they're always fighting to be number one. Everybody
Mhm.
always wants to be in the position Homelander's in. But
Right.
now you like put that with a bunch of college kids who are trying to figure out themselves, dealing with normal teen pressures, like dealing with figuring out life, and now they're basically fighting each other for this position. Oh my god, that's brutal.
I think part of making the boys world is just like, let's take something and inject hyper capitalism into it and see what happens. And so it's like half the college, like literally the school, you basically decide if you want to go to like this lamplighter side where you're going to be learning how to be uh, a protector of a city, or
Right,
you're just going to be an actor. Like they literally have half that school of superheroes who become actors, and
right.
there is definitely some intermingling amongst the two where you still have to learn like how to handle yourself on media on the superhero side, of course, but it just feels like so dirty in a way. Like, oh man, you're ruining the good part of being a hero. So
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's they take these elements of real life and then they turn them in this angle where it's satirical, where we can laugh at it, but at the same time, if you sit back and think about it, you're like, that's kind of messed up.
yeah,
And so you're so right. They're taking these kids. We're literally again, I look back at when I was 19, 20, 21, going through college, and I didn't know what the F I was doing. I didn't
oh
know
yeah,
I
yeah.
still didn't know what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be or who I even was. I was trying to figure that out. And now you extrapolate that and it's like, yeah, but you're a brand now. And
hmm
you got to manipulate what you look like on social media so more people like you and that way you'll get
yeah.
better jobs and your ranking might go up. Like it's so messed up in a way only the boys could do. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
it
intense.
it hyperlizes the things. Hyperlizes, that might be a new word. The things that
I like it.
definitely kids use today. Like there's definitely this like, oh, I got to make sure I look good on Instagram for Joey or whatever. But also like now imagine if you were being ranked, and all of a sudden that mattered to what your entire future is going to be like. And we see in this world that the top ranked is essentially going to join the boys. Is going to join.
Right.
Sorry, not the boys. Like you said, keep saying the boys, but they're going to join the
The
seven.
seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have our best guy, Golden Boy. Literally, like the name kind of gives it
The
away. But
name is just
yeah,
so on the nose and it's amazing.
he's basically like Human Torch with super strength and looks like invulnerability as well. He's kind of this like near Homelander esque powerful. Nobody's as powerful as Homelander. Maybe not even Soldier Boy, but yeah, he's kind of like close to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think somebody had mentioned this on another YouTube video, but he looks like he could possibly be that replacement for Homelander. You
Yeah,
know, I mean he's from what the world knows, he's not as messed up, or at least the world of the boys knows. Like Homelander is definitely skewing one way, right? I mean, he's like
right.
killing people in the streets now. He's going
Yeah.
on the VOT news version. I don't know, maybe Fox News. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
we all
like
know what it
that
really
kind of
is. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. But like, yeah, nothing wrong with that if you like that news or whatever. But I just think that he's very much skewing in a direction towards a demographic, and Golden
Right,
Boy literally can be this new replacement that maybe appeals to the general population, like all of America, rather than like
right.
maybe one political aisle of America. And so, yeah, I mean, he looks fantastic. He's played by Paul Schwarzenegger, I think is it.
Patrick Schwarzenegger. Yeah,
Patrick Schwarzenegger, yeah. So
yeah.
literally, Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. I mean, he looks like the classic American hero, good looking, like every blonde hair, kind of blue eyed kid. The
Hmm.
Captain America archetype. And man, yeah, he's that kid that you're like, oh, okay, I could see him being the number one. But of
Yeah.
course, the boys doing what the boys does, and in Gen V now, like there's a darker side to what's going on even in his life.
Everybody, definitely.
Yeah,
And
everybody.
I will say, like, we know that The Boys is going on at the same time as this, and the timing works out well to where it's like that Vought is trying to replace Homelander in a good way. So there's definitely
Right.
extra pressure on Golden Boy and stuff like that. Like, hey, we need you to be really good because you definitely have the look. They're already
Hmm.
developing this multi-billion-dollar suit for him that's not going to catch on fire. Like, there's so many things that are like, the future is yours, just don't screw it up. But
Right.
also the extreme pressure that comes with that, plus just adding to the boys universe, but also just like, hey, you might be the best person ever. It's a think about it like in football standards, like, hey, you might be the next greatest quarterback ever. Don't have a normal life now because you have to be the best quarterback ever. It's the same kind of feeling.
100%. Like we can compare it to the number one draft pick, right?
Yeah,
We they get the Heisman. Then it's like, okay, which team are they going to? Usually it's like the Jaguars or the Colts. Sorry guys if you're fans of those teams, but like,
yeah,
you know what I
seriously.
mean? But literally it's like the number one draft pick, and
Yeah,
we always look at it like that must be so amazing. They're living the life. They're going to get paid millions of dollars. They're going to hang out with celebrities. But it's also like, wow, there's a lot of pressure there. And the other crazy part for us right now just talking is we haven't even got to the main character that this story's following,
right. But I think
which
it's important to know like this is the standard, and then okay now
right.
because we know that in the second episode that standard's still there, but so
But
yeah.
yeah, and it's just yeah, you're right. We always get to see kind of the dark side of what real life, like whatever looks amazing on TV and social media, the boys or this universe finds a way to flip it on its head and show you kind of the dark side. And we
Yeah.
see it with little Cricket as well. I feel like she's the perfect example of that.
Yes. Yeah. So let's start talking about some of the other people that are near Golden Boy standard or heights. I think. First off, we have Andre, which is probably his best friend, played by Chance Pardomo, and then we also have. Now this is tricky. It's two actors in one. It's Jordan Lee, played by London Thor, as you mentioned before,
Best
possibly the
name,
coolest name in existence,
best
and
name ever.
Derek Liu. I think London Thor shouldn't even play a character. Just be like, I'm London Thor, and then
Right.
we're like, okay, sure.
Yeah, I want her
um,
to get cast in more stuff just so that name gets thrown around more because this is an
Marvel, why
awesome
are you not
name.
jumping in on this? And Maddie
Right.
Phillips. So like all these characters are kind of high on the rankings as well, but they're also part of his best friend group. And we'll go in. I think we'll go into those a little bit more later on. We need to make sure to mention what would probably be considered the main character of this show. We haven't mentioned her yet, by the way. The main character of the show, Jazz St. Clair, plays Marie Moreau. And the best way to describe her ability is if you're familiar with Avatar, she's a bloodbender. She's able
Yeah,
to
blood
manipulate blood.
manipulation,
Yeah.
turn it into weapons, move it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just crazy. What a crazy power.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the only place I might have seen it was in Avatar, and
Yeah.
it was like a bad thing, right? I think it's
Right.
Katara that starts doing it, and you're
She
like,
does.
no, that's like you're not supposed to do that. That's like taboo, and but it's crazy because we're following her, and she. Are we in spoilers yet? I don't want to get into spoilers.
I think well let's try to just kind of get to the intro of her. Like she has a family
Yeah.
tragedy. She gets a full ride to this.
Wow. You killed it
Spoilers,
on
I know.
that note without spoilers. That was good
Yeah.
because I was like, how do
Yeah.
we describe what happens to her? Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get to
Yes.
spoilers because it's
Yeah.
how
A
there's
family
always
tragedy. Well said.
for the boys there's always the shock part of the first episode. She's part of that big time.
Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. That's one thing The Boys always does well is like in that first episode of every season, something crazy happens, right? Last
Yeah,
season there was like an exploding dick. There
yeah,
was in the first season was A Train running over Jack Quaid or Huey's girlfriend and just
yeah.
completely obliterating her. Yeah, so there's always these moments where you're like, "Oh my god, this is so
What
gory
did I
and
just watch?
intense." Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it comes out of nowhere. And they
Mhm.
really like just bait you in and this crazy thing happens and you're like, "Oh my god. This is how
Yeah.
they're starting the show. Where is it going to go?"
Exactly, and she's involved with that one. So, but she eventually gets a full ride. She gets a full ride to the school, and so she feels like she can't mess up because she's in a full ride, and she's under extreme pressure just to survive school. She's not even worried about the top 10 list or anything like that. She just is trying to utilize this to show how good she is. And she does want to join the seven because it's something that like her dad was super excited for when A Train
Right.
joined the seven. It was the first black member on the seven that he knows of. Black Noir. Nobody talks about that. But
Oh,
yeah,
good.
so
Good catch.
yeah. um, but yeah, so she knows that that's what made her dad so proud, and that's why and also it's a sister thing too. But like I think underlining the reason the seven specifically is because of that. I think.
Yeah, and she's actually different in the world of The Boys. She's almost like Starlight in a way where she actually wants to help people. It seems
Yes.
like she genuinely wants to be a hero and save people and thinks it's the greatest thing you could do in the world, not even understanding the marketing or the manipulation from these corporations or
Yeah.
the dark side to being considered a hero in this world, which we all know. I mean, everybody in the seven is messed up, and
Right.
she doesn't realize it. And so, like right off the bat, I think I'm just like, I love her character. This
Me
actress,
too.
Jazz Sinclair, is amazing. I already want to see her in more stuff.
Hmm.
She's incredible. I mean, so beautiful too, really good looking, but just like she has this really dark, kind of messed up power, but actually
Yeah.
wants to be a hero. So it's, oh man, what an awesome character for us to follow along through the show.
She's Rosalind from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, if you guys are familiar with that. It's a Netflix series. And then she's Angela from Paper
Oh,
Towels, written by John Green.
Paper
So
Town?
Paper Towns, yeah.
Oh yeah, Paper Towns. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So she's been around a little bit, but I think this is going to be the role that she could really kind of she's doing so well, and I could see her joining a big franchise after this, or this becoming a big
Absolutely.
franchise. To be honest with you, um, that kind of sets the stage. I think we need to move into spoilers now. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we kind of touched on it. Yeah, just the vibe too. You nailed
Yes.
it. It's so you're right. It feels familiar and yet so unique because for the longest time I didn't even know that there was a university training heroes to get to the seven. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is all new information to me. And yet I'm like, it makes sense. And also, okay, then they're tying in other people that we know, the Deep, A Train, and like A Train was a
They all
big.
went to this school. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, it's so crazy. Plus, that VOT sports network thing felt so ESPN
Yeah.
and still like so messed up at the same time.
Yeah. How
Right?
it kind of makes sense when you think of like the X-Men. Like if you were to just I mean, not in depth thinking about the X-Men, but glancing, you would feel like I back in the day the school wasn't actually a school, but now it's a school. And like, oh yeah, these kids will eventually graduate. The best ones obviously would join the X-Men. It just makes sense. The other ones would probably go. Not all kids can go to the X-Men. Not all the gifted schools from Xavier School can obviously be in the team. That's what
Right.
this kind of feels like in that way. It's just that add a lot more blood. That's what it feels
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah. I know. I'm so wary about touching anything from my precious X-Men. Like I'm
Yeah.
afraid of making that comparison because I love, as you know, I love the X-Men so much. But yeah, this is like if the world was so messed up, which it kind of is in the X-Men, but it was manipulating these kids more for
Hmm.
financial gain rather than to like save mutantdom or like protect humanity. So yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting spin they have on here. But with that being said, I think it's time for spoilers.
Let's dive into the spoilers. I want to return to Golden Boy to kind of explain the first episode, the linchpin of the entire series. So, Golden Boy, again, this promised child, hell of a good acting job by Patrick Schwarzenegger. I mean, he just gives this aura of, yeah, this kid's going to be the next big thing. Yeah, he's the most popular kid ever, but he's not an asshole, which is hard to portray. Like, that's a tough combo. You
True.
feel like there's more to him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he has a little bit of that where he's like cocky. He's going into that fight where
Yeah.
Maria first meets the little cricket, Emma Meyer, and they're like, "Oh, let's go." They're like training today, and he's a little bit cocky, but you're right. We as we dive deeper into him, he's really not that
Like
much of an
that bar
asshole.
scene, you could feel like, oh, he misses his brother kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Or he goes up on the roof with Maria and or
Mhm.
Marie and they're kind of just chatting and you're like, man, he's probably gonna say something messed up to her. And he doesn't. He kind of
No.
is like this shoulder that he kind of is warning her, like, hey, all of this is great, but there's definitely a dark side. There's some things that it's not as like rose tinted as you think. Or maybe it's just that. It's just rose tinted. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're right. He portrays this very sympathetic and kind of like nice guy who is dealing with a lot.
Yeah, and you especially see it on his face when he's dealing with the dean of the entire college, played by Clancy Brown, Professor Rich Brink. They call her Brink. I
Brinker.
think, yeah, it's Brinkoff here, Brinkeroff,
Oh
but I
yeah,
think they
yeah,
just
yeah.
call him Brinker.
All
Yeah,
the kids, yeah, call him like Brinker, Brink. Yeah, yeah, or something like that.
yeah. So you could tell on his face like something's not right there, and then we get to the point. Just story wise, let's get to this linchpin here. Um, One night when everything's gonna go well and he's about to graduate and he had that cool new suit, he goes in and he's able to catch on fire like the Human Torch, and he's holding Brink and he just burns him to death. And Marie, who was just expelled for saving someone's life off campus, but once that story gets out, it proves that the top 10 were basically all on drugs. Um, so
Yeah.
she can't obviously be in school anymore. So they expel her. She comes in to try to fight for her educational
Spot
career.
in the school, yeah.
Yeah, and sees this murder, and of course, just totally on the edge right now. Golden Boy goes to finish the job and take care of the witnesses as well, and becomes this
Yeah.
big threat.
He's totally kind of lost it at that moment, right?
Yeah,
And we
there's
don't know
nothing else to live for,
why.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. He doesn't know why at that point, and also, yeah, he just kind of goes on this rampage, and we've seen it happen to the boys numerous times, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, holy crap, we're here again, and she's kind of running for her life, and Jordan Lee steps in, which is such a badass fight scene. The whole idea
yes,
of a character where as they transition from boy to girl or girl to boy, like the powers differ too. I love that. I think it's such a
yeah,
cool concept, and that fight is badass because like as a boy we see that Jordan is like pretty invincible. I mean, can stop bullets, is super
yeah.
strong. But then the girl side, where I think they identify more as a woman, um, yeah, they have almost this invisible woman type of power.
Yeah,
Make
force,
force
force
fields.
field, force pushes, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, which is and visually it's badass too. It
it
looks
is.
dope. It makes me so excited for the Fantastic Four movie. Come on,
Yeah,
Hollywood, like start paying your actors. Let's get
yeah,
going. But that whole fight scene is awesome because Jordan is the one that steps in and really saves Marie. And somehow with the fight ending outside, there's people, videotaping everything.
yeah. That's a problem too. Andre's there too. His best friend is there at that point too, and he has. I think it's metal manipulation. Is that what it is? I can't really
Yeah.
100% nail
I
it.
always want to say Polaris because I think Magneto, who's
Right.
Magneto's kid in the comics. But yeah, it's like metal manipulation and
Yeah.
magnetism, that kind of stuff, right?
He's
Um,
his dad's. By the way, his name was Polarity. He used to be part of the Seven, and it's all but guaranteed he's going to be replacing his dad as Polarity in the new part of the Seven. So he's kind of also on a Golden Boy like path. But you could tell it's not like you're going to be the next Homelander. It's more like you're going to be the next Deep or something like that. It's like not.
right,
It's one of the
right,
side
yeah.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's more like a legacy character. And when you
Mhm.
look at it, if you looked at it from a marketing perspective, everything, it would be like, oh, okay, great. We have the next generation of this person that you
Yeah.
all remember and you liked before. Well, it's his son, but like even better, he's new. You could just see them spinning it that way.
Yeah.
And his motivations and all that are very interesting as well because it seems like he actually wants to be a hero. For a lot of these kids that we're following right now, it seems like it's what heroes want to be before they become jaded or maybe athletes,
Yes.
right? It's
I
like
think the point of this story is because that's the thing is when we're watching the boys, we're like, man, everybody's an asshole and out for themselves. I mean, even the good guys really are out for themselves. And I think we're gonna see through this school makes you become that. So I think throughout
right,
this school, you see them become like that's the whole tiered system and everything like that. That's what it's bound to do to you. We see them go from like, hey, I just want to be a hero. The the lunch boxes and the comic books that are sold to the kids make them, like, I want to be the next Superman. And then when you go through the school, you get come out with it like, I have to protect my brand. Like, I think that's the
Hmm.
point of the school. So we're gonna see these characters, some of them shift over time.
Yeah, I mean, they even talk about half the classes are being a superhero, and half the other part of it is just marketing and building your
Yeah,
brand. Like, it's
yeah,
so kind of messed up in a way, right? It's like,
yeah.
how do you market yourself? And I mean, in this day and age, that is a constant conversation. And I think it's a constant conversation for even new kids today going through school. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, do you have any type of volunteer work, and what does your social media look like?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
how
starting
many
to see that more and
followers
more
you
now.
have. I know, and I it makes me feel bad, I guess, for kids kind of growing up in this age a little bit, and that type
Mhm.
of pressure. And I think this show is doing a really good job of visualizing that, because or just showing us, it's showing us what is pressure like to be a kid these days in a social media era and all that. So yeah, it seems really tough.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and return to that night because we haven't finished that off, and it's really
That
important.
one night. Sorry, it makes me think of The Office.
Golden Boy, who again his future's all in front of him and it's all about your presence, is starting to realize that the cameras are filming him and that there is no going back. And so he apologizes to his friends that are around him, and then he basically uses his fire abilities to fly into the air and explodes himself and takes his own life. And yeah, so then all of a sudden we're like, okay, so many things. Why did this essentially perfect life need to be taken? What pressures did he know? The dark side did he know? Who's the new number one? Sadly, that's one of the first things I thought after seeing that, which I think is part of the
Oh,
fucked up part of the boys
you're part of
is
the
like,
problem, man.
right, but that's what it kind of puts you in, is like, oh man, does that mean that they're gonna? So you already know that Vought's like, okay, we have to shift marketing over. How are they gonna spin this? And that's exactly what episode two is all about. Is Vought trying to spin this as like, oh, he was a psychopath, and they had it, and luckily, Marie, who we saw earlier save somebody's life, was there to stop him, and also she's the new hero and stuff. So it's just all
The
about like
first freshman
clout.
ever. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
it's a Harry Potter vibe now. Now she's like the chosen one. So
Right, right. Yeah, again, it's so interesting how she gets put in there, right? I mean, they go to the bar the night before. All of them are doing drugs.
yeah.
Uh, Polarity 2, Andre, he's
Mhm.
trying to impress a girl, ends up messing up and slicing someone's throat, and they all run away, but she saves them because of her blood manipulation and
Yeah.
stops the bleeding and clots it, and overnight becomes a new celebrity, gains social
Right.
media, and the rest of the school is like, okay, well, let's treat her as this new hero. Let's see how she plays. And
Mhm.
again, just trying to manipulate the situation that happened and spin the narrative on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, just the banter between her and Andre too. I love it. He even sees her that night where a kid escapes. She stops them, thinking that this kid is on meth, because one of the security guards tells her, like, he's on meth, stop, we got to stop him. So she, thinking she's a hero, stops this kid. Andre sees her, and they have this really interesting relationship so far, where he
Yeah.
has all the pressure of the world. He is the number three hero, yet I mean, maybe he's attracted to her, but also like, you're different. It seems like you do want something that maybe I want, which is like to actually be good.
Mhm.
And I'm really liking that relationship, which is really underplayed. But there's another relationship that I think that I'm really digging, and it's her and Little Cricket, her roommate.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting character. Um, as you guys are listening to this, I've put it in already. There's a trigger warning for a lot of things in this show. I'm going to reiterate it now, but eating disorders and self harm and stuff like that. But yeah, Cricket's character, she shrinks. And unfortunately, she does that by vomiting. And so
Hmm.
there's this whole thing with disorder tied into that. And she's ashamed of it. And she's been hiding it, right? But unfortunately, she reveals it to a confidant who then uses it to stand on a platform and say, like, see how, this is all bad, but reveals her secret that she's been keeping this whole time. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, let's spin her off from being Cricket, this like little badass, to, oh, this sad story. And it's like, that's not the point. Like, god damn it. So it's such a shame that
Totally,
she's getting
man.
used immediately.
Absolutely. Little Cricket by far is one of my favorite characters already.
Yes.
That
Acting
that
too, very good
actress,
acting.
so good.
Yeah.
Was it Liz Broadway? Oh my
Liz
God.
Broadway, yep.
already a standout for me.
Mhm.
Just the whole concept of like she's this YouTube star and she gets famous because she like wrestles her hamster or whatever, and
Yeah, I
she has
love
all
it.
these little costumes.
She's talking shit
And
to it while right when the other one walks in and level, she's like, "I want to murder this bitch," and it's a little hamster behind her.
right, I mean, just hilarious at how many of us would
Yeah,
tune in for that every week. You're like, what is she gonna
so would.
be fighting now? It'd be great,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So her character is awesome, but just how she portrays the dark side to being this YouTube star and the comments and how it eats at her, similar to how she has to. A lot of these characters have to do kind of messed up things in order to access their power. Whether it's
Mhm.
Marie, who has to cut herself literally to access the blood,
Which I know there's a
or
thing. Yeah,
yeah, Little Cricket, which is so interesting because what a spin-off from Termite, which we already know
Mhm.
about Termite from season 3. I mean,
Yeah.
not the best hero in his
No,
own right too, but
goes out in the
yeah,
possibly
it's
worst way. Yeah, pretty much.
exactly. Yeah, with the boom. But
Mhm.
she's just incredible. Seems misunderstood, and also is this person who wants to fit in, like genuinely fit in somewhere,
Right.
and the one time she's truly vulnerable with this other person in the acting side of the classes, that person then uses it, and maybe she was genuinely sorry, or maybe genuinely felt bad about her, but
Yeah.
uses it in a way to build her own brand of like, see how messed up it is that she has to do this, like it's
Right.
not right, to gain sympathy. I mean, there's even a scene where everybody's crying in front of Golden Boy's memorial, and this girl's crying, filming herself, and as soon as she ends the recording,
Yeah.
goes right back to, okay, well, I got it. Yeah, I'm done. And it's just this manipulation of emotions that they portray on screen and through media is like, damn, the world really do be like that sometimes, and it's
It
messed
is,
up.
yeah. And what's nice is it's not even like a which side of the aisle thing you're on, because like you could really kind of pick a favorite and a least favorite because of that. And
Yeah.
but what I like is even with I can't even remember her name. It's on here. It's there you go. I think it's Shelby Khan. No, I'm sorry, it's Justine. But anyways, yeah,
Just,
she
yeah.
that's what it is. But like even her, like she is using people to show like, oh, look at me, my personality, my clout online is as a social warrior. I'm just going to use people just as much as anybody else would. I just use them in this way instead of that way. But she's still using people, and we even see
Yeah.
when Emma, which is the little cricket, when she walks in and like confronts her for this, she's already using another girl who has a tail in like this like weird sexual way, and it's like, oh yeah,
Right.
it's empowering. Now do this, and it's like that's not empowering. We know what you're doing, and
Right.
so
I mean,
it's
talk about
like
that scene though. Just the creepiest thing only the boys could do, right? With the
it
tail.
was stomach turning. Honestly, it was so gross. I couldn't
Yeah.
handle it. It was like, oh, this. Sometimes the show goes too far. It was nasty.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
But
shit.
you nailed it. Yeah, there's always this thing of, I'm gonna use everybody else and use it to show my emotion or what I stand for to help build me up, not
Yeah.
really to help the world and highlight this problem in society. It's
Yeah.
this total manipulation game. And again, I think that's why it makes me like Marie more, is because she doesn't care about any of that. She doesn't even have a phone going into this. And literally
That's a
Emma's
running
reaction is like,
joke.
"You don't
Yeah.
have a phone?" Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a running joke, but it would be weird. Like, I don't know a lot of I mean, I don't interact with a lot of people who don't have a smartphone,
Mhm.
or don't have some access to social media. So even, as Emma's reaction to that is like a little unsupportive, I can't say that I wouldn't have the same reaction. I might be like, "What? You don't have a
Yeah.
phone?" Like, so I get it, but it also shows how Marie's in it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And yeah, and how this whole system is going to try to manipulate her and maybe turn her into something she's not for financial gain.
One of the big undertones for Marie is the fact that is it Marie? Yeah, Marie is their sister. She's trying to like win her sister back from adoption. Also her sister's approval, which we learn later on. And that's the thing that's going to shift her off her course in some way or another. And we already see it happen once when she had the option to give Jordan the appreciation they deserved for actually being the one that really stepped in for the fight. But the VOT is saying like, well, Jordan, because of the gender switching, isn't going to quote play in Middle America, and so they didn't. VOT doesn't want to push them, and so they're like, well, Jordan, we're going to make you the hero, Jordan, and then also because Jordan's black and a woman, it's still progressive. It's just so it's
Yeah.
it's all VOT kind of shit playing that, and they've been saying that the whole time. They brought in, I can't stand the character for all the right reasons. That redheaded one that's running Vought now, I can't stand her
Oh
so much.
yeah, yeah.
It's Peggy or something
Christine.
like that.
I think it's
Christine.
yeah. I think it might be. Yeah, she's like the new CEO of Vought.
I
I
I
can't
hate her
stand it either.
so much.
Yeah, she was
But
pulling
that's
out.
but that's the point of her. I hate her for her character, not the actress at all. And it's
Yes,
like perfect for
exactly.
that. Yeah. And so she's the one
Hundred
saying the
percent.
same thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. You'll show us the future. You're not Homelander kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, anyways, when Marie had the option to like say Jordan's the one that did it, and she planned on doing that, as soon as they brought up her sister, she shut down and went to the script, which was like, I just had to do what I had to do. I'm the good person, blah 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 type of thing.
So true.
So
Yeah.
fucked up.
I mean, I think I can even spin it to, you get to that level. I don't know if you've watched it. This just came out, but it's like the untold truth of Johnny Football or something. It's on Netflix
No, I
about
missed
Johnny
that.
Manziel. But
Hmm.
man, that kid was he was living a completely different life than anybody could understand. He was
Hmm.
so good at football and he didn't try hard at all. And
Right.
he was literally getting taken for like the schools were making millions and millions of dollars off of him
Oh
and he
yeah.
wasn't seeing a dime. And when he saw the opportunity to make money off of his hard work and his name and everything, he took it. And so, it's interesting now when you look at how the NCAA is doing it, should athletes get paid? This is a deeper conversation, but this is
Right.
really painting this lens of these massive corporations are making money off people's hard work and who they are. Of course they would want a piece of it. And then by the time they can get a piece of it, there's so many people manipulating this person and saying, hey, you should go do this ad. Hey, you should show up at this function.
Exactly.
Hey, you should go to this signing. All of that stuff is crazy. It's intense when you really look at it for a younger person.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, poor, young, rich athlete. Yes, for sure, in a way you could look at it
Yeah.
that way, but it's like it's a lot of pressure and it's a hard thing to deal with at such a young age. I think we're seeing it from these young characters. Like there's this is a hard world to navigate at alone, but at that level and what society puts on you is intense. And I think Little Termite is the easiest example, but we're seeing how that pressure is getting put on Marie right now as well.
One thing I think what we're being told to is we have to be concerned. Again, like I was saying, I think the school changes these people. Will even the nicest of them become the next Homelander?
Great
Or
question.
not even Homelander, but you know what I'm saying? So when Marie doesn't stand up for Jordan, understandable in that situation. But it's not like Marie didn't just immediately switch back when she was feeling okay again. Like she had all the opportunity in the world to like throw a tweet out there saying, hey, Jordan actually is the one that did the date. She didn't do that yet. And so we're
Right.
we're also kind of like, okay, so you're okay with it now all of a sudden. So we might start to slowly see even the best of them, which would in our case probably be Jordan, start to slip. And then
Or
same
Marie.
thing goes for just real quick for Maddie and I'm sorry, not Maddie, Kate and Andre, best friend and girlfriend to Golden Boy. They're making out in season 3. So it's like,
Or episode
is
3,
it
yeah.
too soon? Were these feelings already there beforehand? You
Right.
know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's this really interesting world that they're painting. Yeah, I think that Marie ends up justifying what she does to Jordan, right? I mean, and that's something we do for ourselves. We do it all the time. It's called confirmation bias, right?
yep,
It's like when you
yep.
have a feeling about something, you go to the news that is going to tell you exactly what you're
Oh, of
thinking.
course. Yeah, you get
You're
in your
not
bubble.
going to the right. You're not going to the news, whether if let's go on opposite ends of the aisle, whether you're a person that watches CNN or you're a person who watches Fox News, you're not going for the latest news, you're going for that specific brand because it's going to spit back at you what you already
Yeah,
feel.
I'm
You know what I mean?
absolutely at fault for that as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Me too. And not saying I'm amazing or anything like that, but it's something I always question myself on. It's like
Hmm.
check yourself. Are you going this just so you can be confirmed about how you feel about it, or are you willing to challenge yourself a little bit and look at it from a different angle? And we see, I mean, Jordan just doesn't. Sorry, Marie doesn't really have a lot of experience in this. Growing up where
None of
she
them do.
did
Yeah,
and not
really.
having parents
Yeah.
and not having anybody behind her side, she doesn't really have a lot of experience in like challenging the way she thinks and also like having this wide breadth of information, not having social media, having to share the one computer that was pretty disgusting from
That
some of
was
the other kids in the
gross.
facility,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But but yeah, this is all new to her. And what she does is she tries to convince herself that she did the right thing because Jordan didn't allow her in the crime fighting program.
Fair.
She kind of
Yeah.
stopped her from going here. Like Brink would have let her in, but because Jordan didn't, she's like, you know what, forget you. Like you messed up, and so this is me paying you back. And they kind of have that conversation at the fundraising dinner, and I loved it because it was an easy opportunity for Jordan just to keep being this antithesis of what Marie is. But they find some common ground in like, well, you rejected me, so I did this back to you. And she's like, well, I would have done the same thing, kind of. And they all start talking
Yeah.
about,
Because Jordan
dead family
also,
members to connect.
the reason Jordan was doing that was because like I need to make sure that there's not so much distractions for Brink. Like it was everybody's trying to survive in this hyper intention
Yeah,
situation
hyper
where the
tense.
one yeah, the
Totally.
one person who can get you into all of your dreams is this guy behind the door, and Jordan is the person closest to them. Like literally Jordan was like the one person that Brink or like I'm sorry, Brink was the one person that saw Jordan for more than just a freak to like her parents obviously don't agree with the way
Yeah,
things
yeah,
are going.
or as like a symbol for the school, right? Like she's even in the, or
Yeah,
they're even in the ad, like, it's super inclusive. Like everybody looks
exactly.
at
That's
her
the
as
one
like,
line. It's not like, oh, I'm also a badass who's able to fight Golden Boy. Nothing like
right.
that. It's just like, yay, look at me as a prop. It's a shame.
It
Ah, this
is.
show.
I know the show, and when we were kind of talking about this, it's like, is God you great for being progressive and having inclusive, and then like showing that they're inclusive, or are they just being inclusive for financial gain? To show people like, look how great we are. We're leading the
Oh yeah,
charge in inclusivity. Like
thousand
yeah,
percent
it's
column B
interesting,
in my
right?
opinion, because I think if Homelander, like if we see on the next season of Boys, and we're starting to see it already, they hinted to it. Homelander sparks this conversation to where all of a sudden the bros are like, yeah, you know what? I am tired of apologizing for being a man. Like if that
Hmm.
becomes more financially prominent, then yeah, we're gonna see God use switch to that too. We're like,
True.
yeah, we got the best football because they have like that arena game they play or whatever where they have them fight each other. They're gonna
Hmm.
lean in on that. It's gonna be all broed out. So yeah, I
Right,
think
right.
because Vought
Yeah,
runs it all. Like that's the whole point. Vought runs everything. So whatever makes Vought money, they'll do that.
absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the best lines from Jordan that kind of narrates or like draws out this whole picture is, why? Because like transitioning characters don't play well in Jacksonville. And you're
Yeah.
like, damn, like, no shade on Jacksonville. I don't know if it's like that or not, but that line I feel like perfectly displays like the obstacle that Jordan is up against
Yeah.
because of their powers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so good. Just, they tell you in this, and then they also back it up by showing you examples, and that's one of them. And then we get to see
Hmm.
Jordan's parents and what's that relationship like. And can you just not be like, you have a choice. You can choose to be a girl or you can not. And Jordan's telling him like, no, I feel like a girl, and you're telling me because I was born a man, like I have to be that. Such an amazing example for the real world, and like that pressure, I mean, I can't imagine it. It must be really, really tough. And I think they're doing a good job with their character. If anybody out there disagrees or whatever, or has a different take on it, I'd honestly want to know what it is, and your perspective, because I would
Yeah.
say, for me, I don't have that circumstance. So it really would be interesting to kind of see it from somebody else's eyes.
Head over to our Instagram. That seems to be the best place to have conversations right now. I think our Instagram's doing the best, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah, head over to our Instagram and let us know what you guys think about these characters. I think the last thing I want to make sure to mention plot wise is there's what's called the forest, and it's the basement where they're clearly doing experiments. And it seems like when parents injected their kids with, was it Compound V? Is that what it was
Yeah,
called?
Compound V. Yep.
Yeah, it might have affected some of their brain development. And Golden Boy's brother, um, we don't know what it is or if it's even real, but apparently like something happened. He's definitely super duper strong, and so they have him imprisoned down there, and we see that they were using Golden Boy to keep him under control. They were using Kate to keep him under control, but then also we see later on that Emma goes down there and they immediately bond as like two people that are just, I think, outsiders probably is what it was. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that those two, I'm excited for that relationship, like just best friendhood, or if it develops into more, I think it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so terrified of discovering what the woods really is. because
Woods or
it
forest? Yes, it might be the
the
woods. Yeah, you're right.
forest or yeah, it's
Yeah,
so like it already seems so bad. They're
yeah,
literally imprisoning kids below the school.
yeah.
This, and Compound V may be messing with their minds, and even if it wasn't the Compound V's fault, it's just people. Maybe they have some type of deficiency or chemical imbalance or whatever it is, right? They're not trying to really rehabilitate them or help them. They're just
No.
capturing them and like studying them. It's so messed up, and I think it's an interesting look at maybe mental health as well. But he even says, that character, Golden Boy's brother, like, "Are you real? Tell me something about myself that only like I would know." And
It's
so
like
there's
that
this
doesn't make any
weird.
sense. Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense at all, right? And I
yeah.
was like, "What the heck?" But it's so weird and it's intriguing, and there's a mystery there that I really dig. We see
Mhm.
that there's puppets from the trailer. Like, what the heck are the puppets about?
Yeah,
So
which
he
generally in the boys means someone's getting super high. In the past, when they've done something like that, it's because somebody got super high. So I bet
Sure,
that's gonna be the
sure.
case.
I
Yeah.
I wonder if there's just like he views the world differently because of maybe it's because of the compound beat again, or maybe it's a mental imbalance, but he just like views the world or can view the world
Yeah.
differently sometimes,
What if he
and
does
that
view everybody as puppets, and then when he punched that guy and he put his fist through his mouth, that's because he's trying to puppet him?
oh my God, dude. For real though. I could see that. Yeah, because I was literally gonna make a joke that was like, yeah, he like went up through his ass through his mouth, but like that, which wouldn't have been funny. But like, it's just a really interesting. You're right. I could see that the puppet connection now. Man, so good. Their relationship too is already. It seems like one of the first places she's starting to be accepted. Little
Yeah.
cricket, right? Like she's getting accepted by Marie. They have that squabble as like roommates do in college.
Oh, of
I didn't
course.
always get along with my roommates in college, but yeah, where it's like, okay, no, I do actually want to be friends with you. I do want to be more than just roommates. So like she's starting to feel accepted there. She's now also found this person who truly has nothing to give her except for acceptance and
Mhm.
relatability. And that I love that scene where he's like, "Tell me what my favorite movie is," and she's like, "Well, you're a white guy." It's like
Oh my god, dude,
Batman,
that was
Lord of the Rings,
offensive.
like whatever.
I was
It
so
was-
pissed off about that. It was
that
it
cracked
was
me up.
Shawshank Redemption, which I always say is my favorite movie. Godfather, I fucking love Godfather. And what was the other one?
Okay. It was like Lord of the Rings
Yeah,
or like I don't know. It was
I don't
something
know.
like that.
But it was I was like, yeah, every one of those movies are excellent. Don't be talking shit.
Right, right.
But
But
then
it even
he said Waterworld, which was, if you guys have listened to Geek Freaks, I am a
right.
staunch defender of Waterworld. It is one of the
I
best movies
love
that people don't know.
Waterworld too.
Yeah,
I love it. And then
so it's
and
good.
the whole argument on his side, it's like it's so much more than a guy. So much more than a movie about a guy who just drinks his own piss. And
Yeah,
it's like so true, but it's
it
so
really is.
funny
Yeah.
because that's what when people talk about that, just generally speaking, that's the only
They
thing that
always
sticks
go to
out to
that.
them.
Yeah, and it's
Exactly.
like and then he's like, no, it's all about loneliness. I'm like, hello, yes, and then all of a sudden, like it's exactly Mad Max. He glances in with society and saves the day because he's the one that's able to see it from the outside, then goes back out. Like it's so good. I really wish we got
Right.
more Waterworld. Actually, yeah. Who needs
Yeah,
Yellowstone? Get him on
exactly.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, Waterworld like caught up now too in this day and age? That'd be sweet.
Hell yeah!
But
Like he
it's
goes back
just
to that island and sees like that they're thriving all of a sudden or whatever, or maybe that
yeah,
little girl
yeah,
became
yeah.
like an empress. Oh god. Okay, let's just
Yeah,
stop with
yeah. All these other people start
that.
invading that. We could go on for days about it, but
Yeah.
it's this oddball look at pop culture from the 90s that they connect
Yeah.
over. And yeah, just this whole idea of acceptance, manipulation, even with polarity and his dad. All
Oh
this
yeah, that's a
stuff is
messed up
so
relationship.
good. Even Kate, her powers seem, the more she uses it to try to manipulate people, the more it seems to harm her. And I saw somebody
Yeah.
online make the connection to, or at least like the reference to like social media again. The more we try to influence people, the more it maybe kills our soul or kills ourselves. Which
Oh,
again, that's
nice.
very harsh, trigger warning, but maybe it is that example. So all these characters are so deep. I find that I'm liking, maybe because they are younger and they're trying to be good in some ways, they're more sympathetic. Like I feel bad for these kids, and I'm really liking them, I think, a lot more than some of the characters I've seen in the boys lately. So yeah,
Yeah.
oof.
And I hope they don't become the boys. That's my concern. I hope they don't
Me
become
too.
jaded like the boys. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I want to see the opposite. Like maybe there is a world where, they are actually good and someone's going to get jaded and manipulated. And
Yeah.
I'm just so sad. I'm not looking forward to that downfall, especially if it's Marie. Because
Well,
I'm
I
liking
will
Marie
say
so much.
the dividing line that might keep them away is the fact that everybody before this generation thought they were born special, thought they were born gods, and everybody after knows that it was an injection from their parents. That might be the thing that keeps you humble enough to not get out of control. That might be the trick.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought up that point because I think that needs to be addressed. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the first generation that doesn't think it's just God-given talent, and they're
Hmm.
like, no, I was built this way, not born this way. So
Yeah.
yeah, what does that do to your psyche? And what an interesting place they found to add the show in the whole grand scheme of the boys' universe. Like
Hmm.
right at the end of season 3, where everybody realizes like, yeah, somebody made me like this.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so great. I'm loving this show. Oh my god, I was
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
oh god, I wish it was Netflix in a way, but not because the whole
I
show would
know.
be different. But if it was Netflix, we would have got all eight or
Oh, I
nine
would have been done with
episodes.
it for sure. I would have
I
been
would
so
have,
done already.
dude.
Yeah.
I went all the way through these, and this is the sign for me if a show's good or not. If I want to binge it, the show's great. In my own
Yeah.
head, this is my head canon. Obviously, what you like is subjective, but for me, that's my little notify like symbol. What am I trying to say?
Yeah.
It
Yeah. It's
notifies
how.
me that it's
Yeah.
great.
For me, it's how much do I use my phone while I'm watching it, and so
That too,
and yeah.
100%. I didn't. I barely picked up my phone to, except to look at who the actors or actresses was. That
Oh,
was it.
that's a given.
I'm like,
Luckily,
who's
because
it?
it's
What's
on
his name?
yeah, because it's on Prime. Actually, you're able to just click the button on there, and it'll tell you who's on screen right now, even what song
Wasn't
is playing. I
enough.
love that feature.
That
Yeah,
the song part was great. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie. I just jammed a few songs. I was like, this song's dope.
yeah. Which the boys does too. So yeah, it's a good show. I gave it 4 stars on our social media already. I posted that up on the CA Instagram. I gave it four
Damn.
out of five. What do you think?
I would give it 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Okay.
I'm digging it. Like
You're gonna have to add a note to
really.
the Instagram then.
Yeah, yeah.
Frank's full of shit. It's actually 5 out of 5.
No, no. I mean, we can
Yeah.
we can have varying opinions. I mean, both are good
Yeah.
scores when it comes
Hmm.
down to it. And I think it's nice having both of us because we can always average out the scores. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah. For me, I can't really say too much bad things about this. I mean, it was just such a great start for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for next week. That's always a good sign. We're starting to get to good TV, and luckily the writer's strike is over, guys. So shout out to that too.
Yes.
Today I was so excited when I woke up this morning right away as a new John Oliver out. So I'm like, yes, thank you, Jesus. And then tonight we got all the Colbert and all of them coming back. Like I'm such a late night show fan, so
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's a good time.
It was a great time. We got Loki coming out as well. And we have
Yes,
the Ahsoka finale. So,
Ahsoka
what a
finale. Yeah.
time for TV. I'm so happy. Congrats to all the writers. You
Yes,
guys more than well deserve it. And yeah, let's get these actors paid what they're supposed to be paid so we can get back to
exactly.
more things like this.
They are meeting
Because,
this week, so fingers crossed that comes to some sort of agreement and we can get back to work. Um, we're gonna for the Loki series, we're gonna do the weekly show as well. We're not sure exactly. It might be rotating again, like we have with Ahsoka. Luckily, Thomas has been like, I gotta be on it, so we still had Thomas on a lot of the Ahsoka ones. Maybe not so
yeah,
much with Loki. We'll let you guys know as we go along, but we will definitely, even if it's just me yelling into this mic, have something going on for Loki every day, every time.
right on.
So yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Aloha.